Hello, how's it going? Happy Friday. Hey Harley, hello Bella JB and Dean. How's everybody doing? What's gonna be the status today? Am I gonna edit? Am I gonna not edit? Again, it's up to you guys. Dean's got photos to edit. So Dean, I expect you're gonna be slightly preoccupied editing, which means you're not gonna be able to give me crap in the chat. So yeah, let's see what happens here. What you guys been up to? How's your week been? For those of you who do celebrate the 4th, did you do anything fancy schmancy for the 4th or not? I didn't. Like, we literally did nothing at all to celebrate the 4th. Not for any particular reason or not. We're just not really into fireworks and stuff like that. So it was just another day. I actually worked at my part-time job at the library. And, you know, it was just whatever. Okay, so it looks like we was in the dodge and burn phase of this video. Did I already do some dodge and burn on this? It looks like this is just wholesale. Oh, the mask is off, that's why. Okay, so we need to do some dodging and burning. Hey, Tim, how's it going? Hello, Leroy. Hello, Kyle. And let's see, do I get everybody? Kyle, Leroy, hello, everyone. How y'all doing? Yeah, like, you know, it's just... And, I mean, I don't... Like, I used to enjoy the fireworks displays, but anymore, I don't really care all that much, honestly. And now, I sort of kind of find the fireworks annoying. Not the actual fireworks display, like, that's fine or whatever. But then everybody else who's running around till, like, you know, 1 in the morning, blowing shit up. Like, I get the celebration, but at the same time, you know, a lot of people end up having to work on the 5th. And so, you know, not us, like, it didn't matter. It's just annoying, you know? I don't know. And I know people who have dogs and cats and pets, that can super stress them out. Our cats seem to handle it fine, but I know a lot of people who have dogs that just do not like the fireworks at all. And I get that. Like, that's really stressful. Hello, Marianne. How are you? Welcome from the Philippines. Hey, Stanley. Happy 4th to you as well. So we're in Dodge and Burn. I actually did turn on show touches so you guys can see what I've got going on here. And let's see how this is going to go, right? So we are in Dodge Town. Yeah, what do you guys got planned for the weekend? I'm actually instituting a new sort of policy. Something that I should have been doing already, but I just hadn't been, which is actually like taking time off from my job, which is doing this, you know, making videos and doing all the things that I do. So tomorrow, my wife and I, are just gonna do whatever. I know she's got some yard work that she wants to do, and I'm probably going to, or we're probably going to go to the farmer's market. So some stuff like that, and then I don't know. I might actually just edit photos because I don't consider that the job that I need to take the time off from, which is like working on all my YouTube crap. So I'll probably just like relax and edit some photos tomorrow and then do some reading, and maybe we'll watch some Top Chef because I love Top Chef. Do you guys like Top Chef? I mean, I know it's off the air and it's been off the air for however many years, but I love Top Chef and I love watching cooking competition shows. Some competition shows more than others, but I enjoy those types of shows in general. So like we've been binge watching Top Chef lately. We're on like season 13, I think it is. I'm not sure exactly which season it is. Dean, you're going to a local music festival on Saturday, then off to a charity dog fun day on Sunday. That sounds fun. That sounds really nice. Sunday, I'm not sure what we're doing either. Probably a little bit of work. I'll probably do a little bit of work because Sunday is like social media day where we do all of our social media planning for the coming week. But outside of that, I'm not really sure. I do believe Top Chef. I don't think, but I thought Top Chef was canceled. Let's check that out right now. Top Chef. Canceled? Oh my God, Tim, or Subvids? Yes. Great British Bake Off? Yes. We already binged out all of the Great British Bake Off that we could, so we're waiting for the next season, and we're super excited. I love the Great British Bake Off. It's such a good show. It's so fun. it's just so, it feels so wholesome, but it's so fun to watch. And I love the host Noel, and I can't remember the woman host that hosts with him. It's just I love it. That show is amazing. So Top Chef, what? This is saying Top Chef was canceled after 2 seasons? That doesn't make any sense at all. Sandy is the other host. Thank you. Yes, Dean. Thank you, Sandy. Okay, so that obviously isn't right. Oh, it is still on. Oh my, is it still? Oh my God, is it still on? Break Out the Bourbon Top Chef TV show has been officially renewed for a 16th season, and this was as of February 15th, 2018. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I thought Top Chef was like canceled. I'm so excited that it's still on the air. That means more is coming. Okay. Oh God. That's awesome. I'm just adjusting. How's my sound? Am I too loud coming through? Because I've been a little bit worried about my sound lately, and it seems like my mics have been not as consistent as they should be, which is sort of frustrating. But I think that's my fault because I might be accidentally hitting buttons and dials. Okay, sounds good to you? That's good to know. Okay. Hello, Ultra. How's it going? Sounds okay. Sound is good. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Sounds perfect. Don't worry. Good, good, good. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. Okay, so let's do some other dodging and burning and see what the next bit of shininess is that distracts me from my task here. Let's see what you guys have up your sleeves. What have you guys been shooting lately? I know we had the black and white challenge for Photo Blab. So what have you guys been shooting? I have a shoot coming up. I had a shoot that we were supposed to do last Sunday, but we actually ended up rescheduling because of the weather, just because of the drive that the model had to the model had to drive like 2 hours, and the weather was really bad that day. And obviously, you know, safety is more important than the photo shoot itself. So we ended up rescheduling that. But that shoot isn't until, hey, Ricky, how's it going? Glad you were able to hop in and say hello. Everything is great. Thank you very much. I hope everything is also great with you, Ricky. And I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful weekend. When did we reschedule that photo shoot? It is going to be, I think, in August. Actually, I think maybe I forgot to put it on the calendar. Okay, I should make sure I have it on the calendar because that would be bad if I don't. I thought I moved it though. Oh yeah, I did. It's on the 19th. It's on Friday the 19th. Okay, so next week, next Friday, telling you right now, next Friday there won't be a hangout because I'm going to Michigan, to Kalamazoo, Michigan for Doki Dokkan. So I'll be driving, more than likely driving on Friday, when the show would normally be going on. So heads up now before I forget to let you guys know that. All right. Yeah, so we saw Spider-Man Far From Home on Tuesday. That was awesome. Anybody else seen it? I'm not going to say anything, so no spoilers. I won't spoil anything. But I'm super curious if anybody else has seen it. It was really, all I'll say is that I thoroughly enjoyed it. If all goes to plan, on the 13th and 14th, planning a steampunk puppet shoot. 2 models circus theme. Now that sounds super interesting and super fun. Steampunk puppet. That's crazy cool. I haven't actually done much steampunk stuff. It's something that I enjoy the theme of. I've got a diesel punk shoot coming up. Yeah, I do. That is with Madison, and that's actually coming up on the 27th. So I am going to be doing a diesel punk, which should be a lot of fun. And I haven't worked with Madison in a while either, so that'll also be fun. Okay, I need to up the brightness of my screen here. The bummer is I have these lights and then right off of here, and it makes it hard for me to see. Hello, Vix Places. My first visit, I found your YouTube. I love the intro. Thank you. I just started learning. Awesome. Do you have other courses where I can get more of your expertise? Yesterday was my first fireworks photos. That's awesome. Congratulations on the fireworks photos. I do have courses, so let me drop my link into the chat for you so you can check out my courses. I just gotta... I can never remember the exact link for the store. It's shop. Okay, so at Vix Places, my courses are available at this link. So you can check them out there. If you have any questions about any of the courses, let me know. But I do have 3 total courses. I have the guide to shooting in manual mode, which is all about learning how to use your camera and how your camera works and how to control it, and the fundamentals of photography so that you understand how to make the choices to create the images you want to create. And then I have a course on flash photography, which is the same basic idea of the course, like understanding the fundamentals of flash photography and the equipment so that you can use flash to create the photos you want to create. And then a course on Lightroom so that you can learn how to manage and edit your photos in a way that works for you. So those are my courses, and if you want to check those out, go ahead. And if you have any questions about any of them, please do let me know. It's a first for me too. Okay, that's very cool. I'm looking forward to seeing your photos, Dean. I think that's going to be really cool. We've got to have some sort of bakery food shoot edit for sure. Subvids, that's a brilliant idea. In fact, I'm going to add that into the voting options for the next Blab food. That'll be a really good challenge. That would be a really, really good challenge. I love that idea. So that's something that, and I like shooting food. I haven't done much food photography in a while, but there was a period of time where I started doing a food photo a day. I didn't maintain it for very long, just because, you know, life happens and things happen and whatever. But I really enjoy food. Yeah, food challenge would be really, really good. That would be a really good Blab challenge. Oh, that's super weird. I was just pushing on the screen and I could actually like see the screen flexing underneath my pencil. I have a tendency to push really hard when I edit, which I don't need to do, which is crazy. It's like just, I don't know, it's this, I don't know what it is. Hey, Rick, how's it going? How's it going? I got all this, didn't I? Let me make sure. Yep, I didn't get this right here, though. You guys can see the show touches marker now, right? Showing up on the screen? Yeah, that's showing up on the screen. That's good. That way you guys can actually see what I'm doing. I always was forgetting to turn on that show touches feature. So I know somebody mentioned it on the last stream, and now I actually added that to my startup to-do list, my checklist for starting up the stream. Hello, I am Mr. Walker. I am using an iPad Pro with Affinity Photo for my editing right now. So this is Affinity Photo for iPad that I am editing with, and I have the pencil, and right now I'm doing a dodging and burning. By the way, Tim, the dodge and burn video is on deck. I'm going to be working on and recording that video this coming week for release in the next couple of weeks or so. I don't know the exact release date, but that's on deck. And I know a couple of you have been waiting for the dodge and burn video, so I'm excited to make that. Hey, Wayne, how are you? How are you? Yes, dodge and burn for the win. You're welcome, I am Mr. Walker. Not a problem at all. Thank you. Already followed manual mode. Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm glad that you are that you found my channel and that I'm able to help you with your photography. I think that's wonderful. Wayne, how are you doing, bud? All right. Got a popping crowd today. Everybody's showing up, which is awesome. What are my brush settings for dodge and burn? Okay, if you want to do a laugh, search for the Great British Bake Off GIFs. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my God. Okay, I gotta do it. I gotta do just a quick. I gotta do that real quick. I gotta do that. Great. Let's just see what we get. British Bake Off gifts. What do we get here? Boy. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a gold mine. That's gonna be a gold mine. I'm gonna come back to that. Subvids, I can't believe I never thought of that. Thank you very much. So my brush settings, I'm using the curves adjustment layers for my dodging and burning. So I'm not actually using the dodge and burn tools. So I want to clarify that first. Rather, what I have is a curves tool with a mask, and I'm using the brush tool to reveal the lightning from the curves tool through the mask. So with the paintbrush, I have the opacity set to 100, which you can see down here on the bottom on this settings bar. And then my flow I have set to 11%. And the flow dictates how strong, how much like ink comes out of the brush. So as I'm brushing on the mask, I'm controlling the flow of white color that comes out, which is going to show up on the mask and show the dodging through. And I want that to be lower because I want the dodging and burning to be a more subtle effect. And then the hardness of the brush is set to 0 because you want soft edges on those dodge and burn brush strokes so that everything blends in nice and smoothly. And then the color is white so that the white on the mask will allow that dodging to show through. So those are the brush settings that I use. And then, of course, the size depends upon what you're actually dodging and burning and what you're trying to brush so that you're not brushing too large an area or too small an area or something like that. So those are the brush strokes that I'm using, or the brush settings that I'm using. And I'll explain that, all of that kind of stuff in more depth in that dodge and burn video when I make it. So that's part of the plan for that video. Can you guys hear the music at all, by the way? Hey, CyberDoc, how you doing? How you doing? No problem, I am Mr. Walker. No problem at all. Can you make a macro on the iPad for your dodge and burn settings, Michael? You cannot make a macro on the iPad. I'm hoping that's something that they will add. What you can do is make a macro on the desktop and then import that to the iPad. And in fact, I plan to offer a macro for people to download with my dodge and burn video that will give you macros, 3 different macros to set up your dodge and burn, depending upon which dodge and burn method you might want to choose. So that's something that's going to be coming. But yeah, I know that that's a little bit frustrating for folks that just have the iPad version and want to use macros. And it's something that I'm hoping that Affinity will add, but I have no idea if they have any plans to do so. Hello, Ephraim. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I was watching you during the week. You had a few interesting videos. Thank you very much. I'm very, very happy to hear that, and I'm hoping you're doing well. How are you today? Yeah, I worked really hard on the iPad raw editing videos that I put up these past 2 Thursdays, doing the comparison of those different apps for iPad for editing your raw files, and I'm hoping that they get some traction and get some good viewers get some good views and activity on YouTube. As of so far, they're doing pretty decent, but as always, I'm looking to improve the performance of my videos and stuff, and it's always a challenge to come up with the videos and execute them out. What is your main monitor that you use for editing? Also, do you calibrate your monitor? Overwatch Mercy. So my main, this iPad Pro is what I use as my main editing monitor computer. So I do my editing here, and as such, I actually can't calibrate the iPad screen, so I'm not currently calibrating my monitor because it's an iPad. If I'm on my computer, I have an iMac. I don't edit there anymore, but when I was editing on my computer, I was using a 27-inch iMac, computer and monitor, and then I was color calibrating with the spider calibration tools. I'm comfortable with the calibration of the iPad monitor as it comes from Apple. And it also helps that with my work, the type of photography that I do, it's not hypercritical that colors be like 1,000,000% perfect. I have no problem with that. I totally respect that, and I understand that people want accurate colors. But I've talked about this before. I don't sweat the color details as much, and I can get away with that partly because, like I said, the work that I do is more sort of artistic in general and less. The color isn't like color is important to my work. I'm not saying that it's not, but I just don't sweat the accuracy of it so much because I found that it was just a pain in the butt to do so otherwise. If and when you were able to calibrate iPad screens, I'll definitely do that because I think it's a good idea. But they also, Apple does a really good job of calibrating these things out of the gate, and that's why I'm comfortable with it like that. Thank you. I usually dodge and burn via the 50% gray layer and a white or black brush. Michael, I used to dodge and burn that exact same way. However, the reason I started using the curves method is that after looking at it a little bit and testing the curves method, I found, and this isn't an affinity thing. I think the same thing would apply in Photoshop or wherever else you might dodge and burn using these methods. But I'm finding that using the curves tools does. I'm just talking about not sweating the color issue as far as like calibration goes. But when dodging and burning with the gray layer, I found that like you can start to lose color fidelity in your highlight or shadow areas with gray layer dodging and burning. And curves tool dodging and burning, I found, does a better job of preserving that color in those areas when you're dodging and burning them. And that's why I've switched over and started using curves for dodging and burning. Don't sweat the petty stuff, pet the sweaty stuff. Right, exactly. Did you find this way of editing easier than on a regular computer? Yes, I do, Rick. I very, very much do. For a couple of reasons. Number one, me directly interfacing with the image and having this, the pencil, the Apple Pencil to do it with. So that's reason number one. Because yes, using a Wacom or something like that is great. Don't get me wrong, those are great. But the difference between using a Wacom and using the pencil on the iPad is like the difference between using a mouse and then switching to a Wacom. It's that much of an improvement. The other reason is I can literally edit anywhere with this iPad, anywhere I want, in bed, on an airplane, wherever. And that allows me to be more efficient in general because I don't have to come down here and sit down at my desk to edit photos. And that's huge. That's really, really huge. And I genuinely enjoy editing here better on an iPad better. Like I just enjoy it. I find it more fun. I find it to be more exciting. Affinity is not like feature for feature the same as Photoshop. Like Photoshop does have features that Affinity doesn't have, or Affinity does things a little bit differently. So they're not 100% like feature compatible, but Affinity is very, very good. And whoops, I want to redo that. Affinity is very, very good, and I have not run into anything that I can't do in Affinity that I have or have wanted to do in it. So by and large, I think Affinity is excellent, and it's just going to continue to get better. All right, so real quick, I do want to take a short break. There was a link that just popped up into the chat, and I would like to say that if you guys would like to support what I do here on the channel, making these videos, doing these live streams, you know, all of the stuff that I do, I would greatly appreciate any support that you can give. And you could support me and the channel in a couple of different ways. Number one, you could check out the merch store here at shp.photo/merch, where you can get stickers, you can get take some damn photos, right? You know that's the thing I say at the end of every video because it's important. It's what we have to do. So if you want to support that, if you want to show your take some damn photos pride, you can pick up a t-shirt or a hoodie. You got phone cases and mugs and stickers. We got some cool stuff here. Also, if you wanted to consider becoming an ongoing patron, you could do that at my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Heniadis. And there, if you joined as a monthly patron, that would tremendously help me support the show. Having that ongoing support is huge because it relieves different stresses and pressures and allows me to focus on the making of the videos and trying to improve the quality of what I do. And in exchange, you get some really cool rewards. So that's an option as well. And if you can't do a financial option, which I totally respect and understand, helping me by sharing my channel, inviting people to these live streams, sharing my different videos when you see them, and letting other photographers know about what I do is also a huge, huge, huge help. So if you'd like to help me in any of those ways, that would be absolutely amazing, and I would appreciate that. And again, you know, financial or not, I appreciate all of your support very, very much, and I want to thank you for that. Thank you, CyberDoc. I appreciate that, genuinely. Hello, Mike, and hello, Frank, who are hopping on. Whoops, not Notability. I want Affinity back open. How you guys doing? Hope everything is well in your worlds. All right, so let's see where we are here on the Dodge side of things. I think I am done except for her hair. I want to make sure that I got the coat well enough. Doesn't look like it took here on the lower part of the coat, so I'm going to go over that again. Make sure everything's selected proper like, and I'm just going to hit a couple of these areas and test it first. Could be better, but could be worse. I understand that. You know, there's always days like that, right? There we go. Now we got some affect happening there. Wayne, I use Final Cut Pro 10 on my iMac to edit videos. I have tested editing my videos on my iPad, and it can be done, but that's a case where it is still better and more efficient for me to edit my videos on my actual computer, my desktop computer over here. So that's the software I'm using, is Final Cut Pro 10, or a Final Cut Pro X, as it's often referred to. And I've been using that for almost since Final Cut Pro 10 was released. And I really enjoy that for video editing. I think it's really excellent software. It is Mac only, unfortunately, so if you're not working on a, if you don't have a Mac computer, you can't use it. And I know that sometimes that's frustrating for people, but that's the way it is sometimes. All right. So we're getting some progress here. That's better. Could be better, could be worse. What do you got planned for the weekend, Frank? I hope everything's going well for that. Trying to think of things to talk about today, and I can't think of anything. I don't know why my brain's going blank. I did all my monthly admin this morning. That was not fun in the way that monthly admin is not fun. Paying bills and all that kind of crap. There we go. There we go. Okay, so other than the hair, I want to just get this upper part here real quick. Okay, that's looking good. Now we just got to get the hair. Shotcut and Olive are both free and open source options if interested. Overwatch Mercy, I use a couple of different cameras for my videos depending upon what I'm doing. So most often I'm recording on a Panasonic G7 or GX85. So right now I'm actually streaming with one of the G7s. I actually only have one functioning G7. I broke it. On my shelf behind me, those shelves right there, I have two GX85s, and I use those for live streaming, but also for recording video when I need a couple of different angles. And then I have permanently mounted on my wall. You guys can't see it, but it's right over here. I have permanently mounted an older camera. It's my Canon EOS M, Canon's first mirrorless camera, which is actually still a really good option for recording video, which is why I use it. It's an old, I've had that camera for, God, I don't even know how many years now, quite a few. And I was not using it until recently because one of my G7s busted. I broke it. I had broken it a while back and it finally actually quit working. So that's why I'm using that Canon. Otherwise, I'd just be using the Panasonics. Frank's just taking it easy, working on something for my photography business, editing some photos. I took at my tennis club of flamingos and an eagle that they had yesterday. Awesome. Oh yeah, this is graduation party season, isn't it? I totally forgot about that. I don't go to many graduation parties, so that's something that usually doesn't end up on my radar. I remember my graduation party, though. It was pretty fun. I had a good time, which is what you're supposed to do, right? I mean, it is a graduation party, after all. Hopefully there's no shenanigans at the party. You never know with something like that. I know right on that edge of the age of the drinking age, it's sometimes tempting for people to I'm not suggesting that any of the people you know would do that, but I remember when I was younger, some people who hosted parties where the parents were allowing alcoholic beverages to be served, and they paid some hefty consequences for those choices, which was unfortunate. Graduation party. All right, so one of the next videos I'm also planning on working on for the iPad is I'm going to try to start making regular affinity photo tutorials. So one of the things that I would be interested in hearing from you guys is if you're using affinity photo on the iPad or on the desktop, what kind of things do you want to know how to do? I want to focus more on the iPad, frankly, because I think that there's going to be a lot of people who are looking for tutorials on this in the future as iPads become more prevalent as editing tools, and also because it is the tool that I'm using. But I would also consider, making Affinity desktop tutorials as well, if it made sense to do so. Or just anything else, like what are I always like to ask this periodically, like, are there types of videos or specific videos that you guys would like to see me make? Questions that you've had, or types of things that you would like to see on my channel. Overwatch Mercy, I have not yet. I would like to test out the RP, but I haven't had a chance to get my hands on it yet. I was going to attempt to spend a little bit of time with it when I was in Las Vegas for WPPI back in February. But every time I went to the show floor, the Canon table with all the cameras, was just mobbed with people, and I didn't want to try to get through that mob to the camera, so I just said, I'll look at it some other time. So I have not, but I would like to, and it's actually a camera that I kind of want to spend a little bit of time shooting, because I think a lot of people gave that camera a really hard time. Some, for some legitimate reasons possibly, but to me, that's like the camera that I've been waiting for a company like Canon or Nikon or whatever to make for a long, long time, which is essentially a bare bones full frame camera for cheap, right? And that's exactly what the RP is. It's bare bones full frame for $1,000. And because it's $1,000, you're not getting some of the fancy that you would get in, the 5D Mark III or even the 6D Mark II, right? But you're getting full frame, and you're getting a camera that functions on all of the levels it needs to, which is as a DSLR, or mirrorless rather, as an advanced camera that gives you advanced control of all of the camera's critical functions. So I'm excited to get my hands on it. And because of what it is, I expect in the end that it's going to be a boring camera, but in a good way, because it's just very simply a bare bones full frame camera. So that's kind of my thoughts on it without ever having used it. But I think it's an exciting camera. And my understanding is, I don't know how true this is because rumors are rumors and whatever, but my understanding is that Nikon may be trying or maybe working on a mirrorless to match that. In other words, they're also potentially planning a mirrorless full frame camera at that same $1,000 price point, which I think is amazing. More choice is even better. That to me is fabulous. Okay, I think other than this little bit of hair over here, we're almost done with the Dodge process. Hey, top of the morning, Coach Cheese Heart. How you doing? Mike says, on the iPad, are there shortcuts like keyboard shortcuts? No, that is one of the things you lose. Like, there are some gestural shortcuts, right? Like, as an example, you know, I can zoom in and out like this, right? On a desktop, you have to, you know, use some combination of a keyboard shortcut or whatever. So there are some gesture shortcuts that replace some of the keyboard shortcuts, right? But, whoops, as an example, I'm using the brush tool, and I can't tap anything to change to a different tool. There is one now, like, keyboard shortcut, which is on the pencil. There's that double tap action that you can set up to do different things depending upon what you want. And one of them is that you can have the double tap, like switch to a particular tool or something. But for the most part, you know, the things that you need to do, you actually have to like do. And the shortcuts that might exist are going to be you touching, like there's 2-finger tap for undo. There's, you know, the zoom in and zoom out, like I said. I think there's a 3-finger tap option, but I don't remember what that does. That's the shortcuts that are available on the iPad. Let's see here. I had heard that the full-fledged Photoshop is coming to the iPad. Actually, the videos you have been making have been very relevant to me, including the glare-on glasses using flash for harsh noon light. Okay, awesome. I'm glad that those have been relevant for you, Frank. That's really good to hear. Photoshop is coming to the iPad. When it was very first announced, Adobe said it would be March of this year. And then in March, there was no Photoshop. And then Adobe held their 99U conference, whatever it is, creative conference. And while they were running that conference, they had a short live stream. Literally, it was like 30 minutes. Where they did a brief demonstration of Photoshop on the iPad, and they said that it will be released in 2019, and that's all we know about it, and that's all that they've said about it up until this point. So my guess, based upon the fact that they had a release window that they missed, is that they ran into some kind of development problem and needed to push the release back. So I'm wondering, I've been wondering if they'll maybe release it right around the time that iPad OS and iOS 13 release officially releases in September, in the fall. But that's just me speculating. I have no actual idea if they're going to do that. Okay, so I'm switching to the burn layer now, and we're going to start burning. Do all wedding photos need to be heavily retouched or just specific pics of the bride and groom? How do you approach editing a wedding photo album? That's a good question, I am Mr. Walker. I will say that I don't shoot weddings on the regular. However, I can answer that question. And the question is no. You do not need to heavily retouch every single photo. If you did, you would never finish editing those photos. It would take you forever. Right? So it is really just targeting the pictures of the bride and the groom that you want to do any heavy retouching to. you definitely should make sure that all of the photos have a consistent look, right? So if you use Lightroom as an example, you take those wedding photos into Lightroom and you set your baseline edit, you know, whatever edits you do, your exposure, you know, all of those kinds of things. If you do any color grading to it, stuff like that. And then that look should be applied, that basic set of edits should be applied across all of the images, and then fine-tuned, you know, so that everything looks good and consistent. But that's not, you know, that's not heavily retouching. That's just like basic raw edits. Heavy retouching should be targeted to like specific photos of the bride and the groom that you want to make sure, you know, have that look that you want, and are, you know, special photos to the bride and the groom. And picking that, you know, picking those photos is sometimes a little bit more difficult. But the idea is, you know, if you typically present your photos to your bride and groom, and then they make their selection of those photos, and that's what you're going to deliver, that's when you would select the ones you're going to heavily retouch, right? So generally, basic edits first, then allow them to make their selections, then make your edits, your heavy retouch edits from that subset that they have chosen as the ones that will be delivered to them. I hear that Nikon is discontinuing 35 and 56, and they release new mirrorlesses for beginners. That's really interesting, Bella JB. I was wondering if they would do that. Or not, and I'm curious to see if they actually do, or if that ends up being a rumor. It would be very interesting to see that happen, because that would be a very direct sort of push towards mirrorless as the sort of base or default camera style that people would be using moving into the future. And oops, I forgot to dodge one other thing, which was the eye. So yeah, if they actually do that, that to me will be really very interesting, and I kind of hope they do, honestly. All right, let me make sure that took. That definitely took. All right, and I'm gonna just do a light hit around, even though you can't actually see the iris, just to kind of give it a hint of the shape of the iris there. Yeah, that helps. Okay, now we're back to burn. Okay. Yes, I really I'd like a full frame. I'm using the T7i now. Yeah, exactly, right? And that's what makes the RP such an amazing option, because now you don't need $2,000 minimum to get in on a full frame body and then have to try to figure out what you're going to do for lenses. At $1,000 for full frame, that's way more reasonable, and then you can use that extra budget for getting, you know, one or two really excellent full frame lenses. Yes, that's what I'm hearing as well. Nikon is also planning to do a D5 mirrorless. I did hear about the D5 mirrorless, and as well, I'm curious to see what that's going to look like. Bare bones full frame is great. So many bells and whistles added I never use. Right, and that's that. I'm the same way. Like I use very little of the actual like full capabilities of my camera. And that's not because I don't know how to use them or don't know that they're there, but rather it's because I don't need them, right? Like my needs for a camera basically boil down to this. I need full manual control. I need a flash hot shoe. I need, you know, that's base, and then I need an autofocusing system, right? Like that's basically all I need and care about and use on my camera. Like that's it. Even when I'm not shooting with flash, because you know I just don't tend to use the fancy features very much. For those that do use them, I think they're great. I'm not saying that those features shouldn't be there. Just that, you know, for me they serve little purpose. Okay, let me make sure. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that was a little too aggressive. So I'm going to undo that. But now that I know my burning is actually working. This is one of the things that I sometimes goof up on, is making sure that I'm on the mask layer before I start brushing on it. And one thing I'm a little disappointed with is how Affinity changed the indicator of the mask layer, and I'm hoping that they bring back the old indicator, which is a little blue line around the mask, indicating that you've actually selected it. Let's turn that flow down a little bit too. I don't want to be too overbearing on these burns. All right. Oh, I use so many shortcuts and graphics tablets. So to zoom, hit Z and move the pen left and right and do the zoom. Right, like that kind of stuff. I get that, and I thought I might miss that on the iPad, but I honestly don't. Like, I understand the efficiencies that those keyboard shortcuts provide. I'm not minimizing that, but I'm willing to give that up for the gains that I get working on the iPad. And to me, the overall net. It's an overall net positive in efficiency and enjoyability of the editing experience. And I recognize and I respect that this isn't going to be for everyone, right? Like I'm not preaching that everybody has to dump their computer and edit on an iPad. But I think more and more people are going to start looking at this and seeing this as a viable editing option. And I want to be there to provide the tools and advice and help for people who decide to make that transition. Because I really do think it's wonderful. There we go. Now we got some definition in our face there. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I gave you hope. That's awesome, I am, Mr. Walker. I'm glad that I can do that. Very, very, very glad. Let's see. I haven't jumped ship to Canon mirrorless due to crappy battery life. My 6D has fantastic and the 6D is a great camera, right? Like if your 6D is still working, I mean, you know, other than wanting to upgrade for the sake of it, which is fine if a person wants to and you have the, you know, the means and whatever to do so. You know, there's nothing wrong with the 6D, even though it is an older camera. It still rocks as far as image quality and everything else goes. And make sure, yep, my brightness is up. It's always a little bit harder to dodge and burn in the shadowed areas on these streams. All right. Coming from the full frame world, you will need extra money for good glass, and the weight of those lenses too, they are not light. Right? That's a drawback. That's a real drawback of full frame. Is for people who are conscious of the amount of gear and how heavy it is. Even if it's a full frame mirrorless, those lenses are still big and still heavy because they have to be big enough to project that image onto the full frame sensor. And they can be smaller than DSLR full frame lenses because of the flange distance. The distance between the sensor and where the lens mounts. But even with that, those are still bigger lenses because it's a bigger sensor that the image is being projected onto. Click-on passes. Good question. Good point, Kim. Thank you. Books don't review themselves is my wife, by the way. So I have some click-on passes. If you're not familiar, click-on, let me show you. Click-on, click-on, click-on. Con Chicago. ClickCon is a brand new photography convention that's going to be happening in Chicago, and I'm going to be there in August teaching some classes and also just hanging out and having a good time with all the other photographers and peoples and models and all the stuff. And I do have passes, some passes that I can give away. So maybe we'll do a quick impromptu giveaway right here in the stream. But let me see, like, how many of you here are here or could get to Chicago for August 5th, 6th, and 7th? And if you could get to Chicago for August 5th, 6th, and 7th, would you go if you won a free pass to ClickCon for the full weekend, a 3-day photo and video learning experience? If you would, let me know in the chat, and if there are enough, then we'll do a quick impromptu giveaway here. If not, then I'll find a different way to give these away. Okay, so, hey, Wellstang, how's it going? A live stream when it's after work for me. Props to you, mister. Can't imagine the time zone for you now. Actually, it's 12:49 p.m., so it's just lunchtime here, which is Not a big deal. I'm just hanging out and editing and having a good old time. Whoops. Thank you for the, that link actually didn't come through. My wife tried to post a link. I'm going to find that link. The shotgun mic that I'm currently using is I'm actually not using it for the video, but I do use it. It's the Movo VXR10. I'll grab a link for that and drop it into the chat. And then I'll also get the link to the video that my wife was trying to link. Movo, what is it? I just looked at it too. VXR10. VXR10. There it is. And it's a nice, affordable mini shotgun mic. It's $40. You could get a Rode video mic for $20 more. And I do have a Rode video mic as well, and I do use that. So that's a good option. But it's this Movo is a really nice option as well. So here's the shotgun mic I use. And then let me find that video link. Let's see, YouTube. I got to go to my channel. And then go to videos. And then find it. Where is it? It was back in like December, I think I did it. Here it is. Okay, here is at Overwatch. Here is my studio tour, showing all the gear I use. Okay, so you can check that video out if you would like, and that will give that'll give an overview of like all of the crap that I've used. Quick note: I didn't buy all of that stuff, you know, in that video like yesterday. It's been accumulated over like 10 plus years of me doing YouTube and photography. So I had a few people comment on the video like, oh, that guy must be rich and stuff like that. And far, far, far from the case. You know, I buy budget gear a lot, both because I don't necessarily want to pay money for stuff that I don't need and use, features and stuff, and also because I am a budget conscious guy. And it's all stuff that I've accumulated over the years. So yeah, must have been tough to be a film photographer before pixel cameras. I mean, it was and it wasn't. You know, film, I didn't shoot a ton of film. So I came in right on the cusp of the transition and went in on digital because I realized that that was the smart thing to do. The future was clearly going to be digital. But I still do a little bit of film occasionally. And when I say occasionally, like I haven't done film in years. But I like doing film periodically because it's a good exercise. And it's a good reminder of how much more difficult it used to be when you couldn't see the results immediately. Yeah, you can still get great photos with film. Film is still available, still great to work with. Let's see here. Hopefully you can get an RP soon. Looking forward to your feedback. Yeah, I will definitely be when I get one, I will definitely be making videos about it. Hello, Leo Manchetti. How are you? Machete. I always put an N in there. Leo Machete. I like my Canon T6i. What would be a good lens that zooms without changing aperture? So Harley did give a good option, that 24-105 f4. But my question before giving a recommendation, VIX places, would be what zoom range are you looking for? Right, so are you looking for a wider zoom range, like the kit lens that comes with the Canon Rebels, like 18 to 55 millimeter range? Or are you looking for a more telephoto range, which is traditionally something like 70-2 or 70-300, or something that covers kind of in between both of those ranges? Because knowing which range you're looking for then allows for a better lens recommendation, because it's easy to buy a zoom lens that you don't end up using because it's not a focal length range that actually suits your style of shooting and your shooting needs. So let us know what that would be, and then I'll be happy to give a recommendation. That 24-105 that Harley did recommend is a really good lens. So if that fits your zoom range that's necessary, that's absolutely one that you could take a look at. A bit of a drive from Detroit for you, Mike. I totally understand that. Lunch and margarita time, right? Salute. Let's see here. You are very welcome, Overwatch Mercy. Thank you, Cyberdoc. Yeah, margaritas. I might have a glass of wine with my lunch today. Just saying. What made you go with Canon cameras? I don't actually use Canon now. I used to use Canon. I don't know if you were talking to me, Frank, or if you were talking to somebody else, though. But I shoot the Olympus now. I used to shoot Canon. And hey, Lewis, how's it going? What's Me. Okay, I'll answer that in a moment, Frank. So yeah, what made me go with Canon cameras? Vix Places. If you're looking for telephoto, here's a couple of options that I'd recommend though. So let me just head over to Amazon, and I'll drop these links into the chat too. So I would recommend taking a look at, if you want telephoto, depending upon your budget, you could go with either a 70-200 millimeter f2.8 or a 70-200 millimeter f2.4. So on the Canon, there's 70-200 millimeter f2.8. You can see right here you can get for about $1,300. This one here is the older version. So if you want the more up-to-date version, it's obviously more expensive. Here it's $1,900. But these are Canon only right now. If you look at third parties like Tamron here, you can get like a Tamron 70-200 f2.8 for significantly cheaper. So that's one option. And the Canon and the Tamron or the Sigma 70-200 millimeter f2.8, they're all going to be excellent lenses. Now, depending upon your budget, if that's running outside of the budget range, then what I'd recommend you look at is the 70-200 millimeter f4. Just like that 24-105, the f4 is a constant aperture without the zoom throughout the zoom range, but you can get it for significantly cheaper, right? So the Canon 70-200 f4 version 2, the most current version, is $1,300 compared to the $1,900 for the f2.8. Or you could go with a Tamron or Sigma. Let me find one of them. Now these are getting into the 70-300s. Well, the Sigma is $1,500. That's their f2.8. Oh, it doesn't. I'm guessing that Tamron or Sigma probably don't even make a 70-200 millimeter f4. So those are the options that I would look at for the telephoto. Look at 70-200 millimeter f2.8 or f4 if you want Canon, depending upon your budget. But I definitely and highly recommend Tamron. Their 70-200 millimeter f2.8 is really fantastic, and it's really good. Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic telephoto zoom lens for you. Lewis makes a good point. The only downside to a lens like that is that regardless of the manufacturer, Tamron, Canon, whatever, it is going to be a heavier lens. It's bigger, it's got a lot more glass in it for that constant aperture. So do be aware of the weight. And if you want less weight, consider the f4 versus the f2. The f2 won't need to be quite as heavy. But those are the ones I'd recommend. And let me grab those links for you. I got to do that here so I can actually put them into the chat. Let's see, Canon 70-200 f2.8. So Frank, to your question, when I chose Canon, the reason I chose Canon when I did was because at that time, literally the only DSLR that was available for a consumer level price was the Canon Rebel. I bought the very first Canon Rebel when it was the only digital SLR that was approachable for consumers. And then I shot with Canon for a decade or so, or more probably, actually. 15 years? I don't know how many years. It was at least a decade. 70-200 Tamron f2.8. Okay, let me grab that link for you. Where's the Tamron? Let me just punch it in here. Canon Tamron 70-200 millimeter f2.8. For Canon, here it is right here. Yep, this is it. Okay, popping that link into the chat for you right now, Vix Places. 70 Vix Places. Tamron 70 to 200 f2.8. There's the link for you right there. So that's why I chose Canon. And then I switched to Olympus. And I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again briefly. I switched to Olympus after having had some bad service experiences with Canon, with my Canon 60D cameras. And I had two Canon 60D bodies, and both of them were giving me troubles. And I sent them into Canon for service, and they not only didn't find anything wrong with them, but actually sent one back to me with the focus screen seated improperly. And then when I called them about the fact that they sent it back to me with the screen seated improperly, and I tried reseating it myself and I couldn't get it reseated, they tried to blame me for it and charge me for fixing something that they did wrong, which I was pretty upset about. So after that happened, I was just like, you know what? I'm interested in mirrorless anyway. Screw this experience that I had with Canon. I can't trust these camera bodies that I'm using anymore. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff, and I'm going to switch systems. And I actually was going to switch to Fuji. I had purchased a Fuji X-T1 and was planning to use that camera. And then I got my hands on an Olympus OMD EM5 Mark II to do a review video. And I found myself falling in love with using that camera. And so I returned the Fuji X-T1 and bought myself an EM5. And that's why I ended up going to what I did, going with Olympus after I decided to leave Canon. So let me catch up. We had some other questions. So do I have a favorite Olympus or Panasonic lens for stills? The 75mm Olympus is my workhorse. I do. My workhorse is the 12 to 40mm f2.8. I love that lens. I use that lens constantly. And then my secondary workhorse is the 40 to 150 f2.8. Both of those are the Olympus lenses. But the 12 to 40 I use far, far more than anything else. And the reason I use it so much is that I tend to shoot a lot of full length, full body portraits. And so I do need that wider angle. And that's why I tend to use that lens the most. And it's amazing. I love that lens. It's really fantastic. Would you say a medium format has more detail and can print out better than, say, the average full-frame digital? Was looking at a mid-90s Pentax MF. If you're looking at medium format film, and if it's going to have more detail than a full-frame digital today, I mean, the answer is going to be that it depends. It's going to depend upon the film that you get, the ISO of that film and the grain quality of that, right? All of those things are factors that will affect the end result. So the answer is you could get a film medium format, and you could definitely get more detail than a current full-frame digital. But it's going to depend upon the full-frame digital, and it's going to depend on the film that you use with that medium format, and you know, the sort of end megapixels of that medium format film. You know, what medium format size are you looking at? You were looking at a mid-90s Pentax MF. So let me look that up real quick. Pentax MF. Like, which medium format? Is that a, like, 110? Is that a 6x7? Like, you know, what's the medium format size? Because if it's a smaller medium format, then you're likely to actually get more detail, if that's what you're after, out of a modern, like, 36 megapixel full frame, honestly. But again, there's a lot of variables there that you have to consider. So it's not a straight answer without knowing, like, more specifics. Canon cameras get a lot of crap, but for starting out and testing photography, they're great. They are, right? They really are. And to be very clear, I left Canon, right? But I don't think Canon makes crap cameras, right? I had a bad experience. That happens, like, you know, pick 1,000 photographers, and you'll find a photographer, at least one, that's had a bad experience with every camera manufacturer out there, right? So I recognize that Canon makes good cameras, And Canon also probably, by and large, does really good as far as service goes. It just so happened that I was having a bad experience with 2 of my cameras, and I got somebody in their service department that decided that I was trying to cheat them, and so he treated me like trash. You know, it happens. And I haven't had to engage with Olympus service, so I can't speak to their service, but I've been very happy with the quality and the performance of the camera, you know, for sure. I love Canon for the glass and color science. Yeah, their color science is amazing. Canon stands above just about, I mean, basically everybody for their color science. Yeah, the Tamarons, yep, the Tamarons are amazing. Okay. Ooh, chat just jumped. And they're so easy to use too. The menus are options. Yes, that's another benefit to the Canon cameras, right? Like there's Canon has a lot going for them. Switched to Sony after they could not find anything wrong with my Pentax K1, right? Like that's basically the same experience I had, except with Canon, and then switched to Olympus. Let's see. I have a D5. Okay. Left Sony full frame for my Olympus and never go back, right? Olympus for the win, Mike. They are pretty underrated, Cochise Heart. I agree. Like Olympus makes good, really, really good cameras that are really underrated. And I think part of the reason they're underrated is because there are still people who sort of think that Micro Four Thirds is a dead format and that crop sensors are dead and things like that. And I just disagree. Every advancement in sensor technology is going to benefit every sensor size. And as a result, Micro Four Thirds sensors will continue to improve just like every other sensor does. And as a result, there's always going to be a place, in my opinion, for smaller size sensors. And Micro Four Thirds is a format that I don't see going anywhere, and I'm happy to be shooting it. Like I really enjoy it. I think it's great. And a lot of people, I think, just don't understand that it's perfectly fine, right? Like that doesn't mean everybody has to shoot it. I totally get that. I don't expect everybody to, but it's a valid and perfectly usable format. It was the 6x7. Okay, so a 6x7 is a pretty decent sized negative. And as a result, I would say with a 6x7, you know, again, depending upon the film grain, depending upon the film, depending upon a lot of other variables, you could get more detail out of that medium format, but you're also going to be having to process that film, you know, scan it or print the prints, you know, and there's going to be different barriers to the workflow. I lost my place here. Oh, there we go. I just bought a Canon Mark IV, and I've got a problem in the selection button with less than 2 months of use. They charged me about $200. Wait a minute. That doesn't seem right at all, Leo Moschetti. That they charged you $300 to fix a problem after 2 months? That should be under warranty. That's some BS right there. I would be calling somebody, because I'd return that camera, quite frankly. I mean, if you're 2 months out, you probably can't, but that's bullshit. I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. Hey, Sandy, how you doing? I just stick with Nikon due to my familiarity with the camera settings and buttons and their lens selection. And that's a good reason too. I considered that factor when I was switching over to Olympus. Because I had my lenses, I had, my familiarity, but ultimately I decided to make the change anyway. Subvids, the GH2 for 1080 is ace. Absolutely. Those GH cameras from Panasonic are really fantastic. I would like at some point to get my hands on a GH4 or a GH5, but my G7, and my GX85s all work perfectly, so I have no actual reason to spend the money on another body right now. All you Micro Four Thirds shooters are hipsters, I tell you. I don't have enough hair to put in a man bun though, so I can't fulfill the hipster persona. Okay, holy crap! I didn't even realize it was after 1 o'clock. Well, I did some editing. I got some dodging. I did all of the dodging, and I got some burn done. So that's something. But I think on that note, I will wrap the show up for today. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Before I wrap up, real quick, I'll just see what else you guys are saying here. Not one of my customers ever. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it, Mike. Like, nobody cares. The really cool thing I'm seeing about Micro Four Thirds cameras is all the features they put into the cameras. They're doing the things full frame cameras aren't doing yet. That is one of the huge benefits of that, right? Because they don't have to spend so much money on big sensors and other stuff, they can pack a lot of really amazing features in. And obviously we discussed earlier about how, you know, those features we don't necessarily always need, but it's nice that they're there. The argument was you brought it out of Brazil, so we'll have to ship the camera to the US so we can analyze. That's crap. That's still crap. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining. Real quick, one last reminder, if you want to support the show, that's amazing and tremendous, and I appreciate it. And you can do that at shp.photo/merch or at patreon.com/Heniadis, or by sharing my videos and telling people about my channel and letting people know about my videos. All of that is tremendously helpful. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining me for this Friday Hangout and tiny bit of editing. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And make sure you get out there and take some damn photos. Bye, everybody. Bye. Jazz hands. Bye.